ॐ सहनावतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ सहस्रशीर्षं देवं विश्वाक्षं विश्वशम्भुवं विश्वं नारायणं देवमक्षरं परमं पदम् विश्वतः परमानित्यं विश्वं नारायणगुं हरिम् विश्वमेवेदं पुरुषस्तद्विश्वमुपजीवति पतिं विश्वस्यात्मेश्वरगुं शाश्वतगुं अच्युतम् नारायणं महागेयं विश्वात्मानं परायणम् नारायण परो ज्योतिरात्मा नारायण परः नारायण परं ब्रह्म तत्त्वं नारायण परः नारायण परो ध्याता ध्यानं नारायण परः यच्च किञ्चित् जगत् सर्वं दृश्यते श्रूयतेऽपि वा अन्तर्बहिश्च तत्सर्वं व्याप्य नारायण स्थितः अनन्तमव्ययं कविगुं समुद्रिन्तं विश्वशम्भुवम् पद्मकोश प्रतीकाशगुं हृदयं चाप्यधोमुखम् अधो निष्ट्याभितस्यान्ते नाभ्यामुपरि तिष्ठति ज्वालमालाकुलं भाति विश्वस्यायतनं महत् सन्ततगुं शिलाभिस्तुलं भर्त्याकोशसन्निभम् तस्यान्ते सुशिरगुं सूक्ष्मं तस्मिन् सर्वं प्रतिष्ठितम् तस्य मध्ये महानग्निर्विश्वाचिर्विश्वतो मुखः सोग्रभुग्विभजन्तिष्ठन्नाहारमजरः कविः तिर्यगूर्ध्वमधश्यायि रश्मयस्तस्य सन्तता सन्तापयति स्वं देहमापादतलमस्तकः तस्य मध्ये बह्निशिखा अणियोर्ध्वा व्यवस्थितः नीलतो यदमध्यस्य विद्युल्लेखे बभास्वरा निवारशोकवत्तन्वि पीताभास्वत्यनुपमा तस्या शिखाया मध्ये परमात्मा व्यवस्थितः स ब्रह्म स शिव स हरिसेन्द्र सोऽक्षर परमस्वराट् हृदगुं सत्यं परं ब्रह्म पुरुषं कृष्ण पिङ्गलम् ऊर्ध्वरेतं विरूपाक्षं विश्वरूपाय वै नमो नमः। ॐ नारायणाय विद्महे वासुदेवाय धीमहि तन्नो विष्णु प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ओम्।
Good evening, everyone. Kolkata witnessed Sister Nivedita's arrival on 28th January 1898. This year, we begin a year-long program to mark the 125th year of Sister's arrival. Today is the 28th January 2022. We started today's celebration by garlanding the photograph of Sister Nivedita at the Khidirpur dock at 3:30 p.m. The Ramakrishna Sharada Mission Sister Nivedita Heritage Museum and Books has organized a webinar to celebrate this auspicious day. We would like to begin with the welcome address by Pravrajika Atandraprana Mataji, Assistant Secretary Sri Sharada Math and Ramakrishna Sharada Mission. I would like to request Pravrajika Atandraprana Mataji to begin.
Mataji, unmute yourself. Pranam Mataji.
Good evening to all of you who are participating in this special webinar in this memorable evening. I know you are all sincere admirers of Sister Nivedita. It is really wonderful to participate with you all in this special webinar, specially dedicated to Sister, organized by Ramakrishna Sharada Mission Sister Nivedita Heritage Museum and Knowledge Center. It is my great pleasure to welcome every one of you to this unique webinar. Our heartfelt welcome to you all. We would like to extend a special welcome to our guests of honor who will be speaking to you soon. Our warm welcome to our sister from Guntur Center, Pravrajika Jaganishta Prana, who will also discuss the matter. The occasion is 125th year of Sister Nivedita setting her foot on Indian soil. Today's theme being the impact of Sister Nivedita's arrival at Calcutta. It was really a historic event. 125 years ago, on this very same day, Sister has set her foot on Calcutta soil. Let us visualize for a moment the picture of Swamiji receiving her at Khidirpur dock, and Swamiji's welcoming her is a national event to be celebrated because this picture symbolizes age-old spirituality of India in the form of Swamiji, welcoming a sprouting new India, a fresh sense of nationalism, rising women power in the form of Sister, who heralded actually a new era of nationalism and women education in India. It is here that Margaret Noble became Sister Nivedita, the dedicated, who gave her all to India without a question. She was also very embodiment of Swamiji's benediction, which he gave to the future generation of women of India. Through her, here I am tempted to read out a few lines from the benediction. The mother's heart and hero's will, the sweetness of the southern breeze, all these be yours and many more. No ancient soul could dream before. Be thou to India's future son, the mistress, servant, friend in one. I hope that this occasion shall motivate all of you, and may Sister inspire us all to gain a better understanding of our country. Let us all be blessed with a novel sense of pride in our country, Bharat. Now, I shall introduce you, Professor Siddhartha Sen, who will be speaking to you soon. Professor Sen is a mathematics genius, emeritus fellow of Trinity College, Dublin. He is doing research on understanding consciousness through mathematics. He has also researched on Sister Nivedita, especially on the part of her life in Ireland. He shared the stage with the Honorable Chief Minister of West Bengal during the inaugural function of our restored house of Sister Nivedita in 2017. But there is yet another identity of Professor which is more important to us, which is near to our heart. It is that his family was very close to Sister. It was Sister Nivedita who inspired his grandfather, Sri Dinesh Chandra Sen, the eminent writer, and she helped him in bringing out his voluminous book on history of Bengali literature, because of which he was considered a pioneering historian of Bengali literature. We extend our hearty welcome to them. Thank you again, once again, to all of you to this webinar for an eventful evening. Sir, we are expecting and we are excitingly waiting for your inspiring speech. So, thank you all. With this, I'm ending. Namaste to all.
Namaste. I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to talk on this very special occasion. The famous the Indologist Heinrich Zimmer, in his book, Myths and Symbolisms in Indian Art and Civilization, at the end of it said that very often big events, big changes in one's life is initiated by someone who does so without knowing anything. I would like to call people like this, who change the course of a person's life, the gatekeepers of destiny. In the case of Margaret Noble, Sister Nivedita, one can easily identify three such gatekeepers. The first was a Dutch lady, D. Lewy. The second, a well-known art educator, Ebenezer Cook. And the third was a British aristocrat, Lady Isabel Margesson. Most people know about these three people, and they know that it is through the intervention of them that the journey of Margaret Noble from Ireland to England to India happened. In this trinity of names, I would like to focus on Ebenezer Cook and point out that he was not merely a gatekeeper of destiny, but a close friend, a teacher, and a counselor of Margaret Noble. Now, how did these things happen? There is a simple underlying thread, and this was a shining beacon, a light that Margaret Noble followed from a very early age. This was her interest in education. All the three people I named had a strong interest in education, especially in the ideas of Pestalozzi and Froebel. Thus, we have De Lewy, who lived in Liverpool and was a linguist, and had a brother who was a very famous linguist, persuading Margaret Noble to leave Chester and join her to start a school in London. This event was the first step in destiny. It moved Nivedita from Chester in 1890 to London, which was going to be the place where the other events of her life could unfold. Louis and Margaret Noble set up a Froebel boarding school, which was opened on the 21st of January, 1890. As soon as this happened, we would like to introduce Ebenezer Cook. And to do that, we have to briefly sketch some facts about his life. Ebenezer Cook was born in 1837 in Norfolk, in a small village, and he moved shortly after that to another village where the teacher was a disciple of Pestalozzi. He became an apprentice draftsman, lithograph draftsman, and eventually around about 1850, he moved to London. Here, in round about 1853, a dramatic event happened. He was persuaded by his brother to attend lectures by Frederick Denison Maurice, a charismatic educator. After listening to these lectures, Ebenezer Cook joined as a drawing student in the Workmen's College, which was created by Maurice. This college started in 1854, and it had an extraordinary agenda. It recognized that artisans, people who worked, could still have a deep interest in philosophical and other ideas. Consequently, the college had voluntary teachers who were really renowned figures. For example, in art, they had the famous art critic Ruskin and the famous artist Dante Gabriel Rossetti. In science, James Clerk Maxwell, the inventor of electromagnetic theory, was a voluntary lecturer. So this was an atmosphere of where people could discuss and learn new things in a spirit which was present in an Oxbridge college. Ebenezer Cook loved this atmosphere, and he enjoyed the lectures of Ruskin on drawing and became his disciple. A few years later, he decided that he would quit the lithography and become an educator. And he became an assistant of Ruskin and started teaching in the Working Women's College, a sister institution which was found around about that time, 1865 or thereabouts. At the same time, Ebenezer Cook had a deep interest in Froebel and Pestalozzi's ideas, and in 1874, he created the Froebel Society to popularize the idea of the kindergarten. In the realm of art, Ebenezer Cook had a very deep philosophical approach. He felt that art was a part of the cognitive development of a person. And by studying the drawings by children, he discovered that there was a universal pattern. All children round about the age of 1 would scribble on a sheet of paper from left to right or right to left, and wouldn't paying attention to the size of the paper. Round about 2, they started drawing circular objects. A bit later, they started putting in eyes, which are rather large, and hands and legs, which emerged from the head. A bit later, the human figure was made more realistic, and a ground level, which was usually green, with a sky which was usually blue, was introduced. So these features were just the development of a human being, and irrespective of where the person was born or what kind of cultural atmosphere he lived in. Later on, around about the age of 9, the cultural parts of a child's environment started to show up. So consequently, you had this man with a deep philosophical understanding of art, who understood the importance of allowing children to be creative, to develop, to be free, and to be taught in a way that their nature and their aspirations and their background knowledge were all recognized. So when Margaret Noble arrived in London in 1890, and she was interested in Froebel, it was almost certain that she would get in touch with people in the Froebel Society, which is Ebenezer Cook. So the link in the March of Destiny took another step. As we all know, that Ebenezer Cook invited Margaret Noble to a lecture by Swami Vivekananda at the home of Lady Isabel Margesson. Now here again, the link between Ebenezer Cook and Lady Margesson comes from their common interest in the Froebel-Pestalozzi method. Lady Margesson was deeply interested in many things. She was a supporter of the Vegetarian Society. She was for women's voting rights. She was for looking after disadvantaged people. She was interested in education in a very, very, very serious way. And in fact, in 1894, she wrote a book on the practical methods of implementing the new ideas of education, by which she meant the ideas of Pestalozzi and Froebel. So through these contacts in education, Ebenezer Cook certainly knew Lady Isabel Margesson, and when this particular event happened, he invited Margaret Noble to attend. Thus, in this drama, Lady Margesson was again a gatekeeper. Her role was to place Margaret Noble and Vivekananda in space and time in a certain location, which was 63 St. George's Street. So it is amazing that the person who pointed and got her to this place was Ebenezer Cook. So he was, again, a gatekeeper. So these three gatekeepers, one brought her to London, one created a meeting place, and the other took Margaret Noble to this meeting place to start this change and this great dramatic change in the course of Margaret Noble's life, from a comfortable, successful career surrounded by eminent people, doing things which she loved, to move to a country about which she knew very little, but where she felt that this urge of hers to get to the essence of things, to understand the true meaning of education, and step by step to feel that ultimately you have to look inside you and understand your full potential to reach the place that you are seeking. And by a leap of faith, not by logic, she became a disciple of Vivekananda and came to India. Now, subsequently, the ideas of Ebenezer Cook regarding art were well received. He was invited to the international meetings of drawing in Paris and Bern and Dresden, and was the invited speaker and committee member in these things. And in all of these things, he showed his great passion for collecting information and for basing his things on general philosophical principles. Consequently, when Margaret Noble met Ebenezer Cook, she learned from him how to criticize art, how to understand universal elements, how to recognize that children, when they draw between the ages of 4 up to the age of 4, have a personal vocabulary of drawing. They have certain symbols which they use, and these symbols they recognize. And an adult has to ask the child to explain the symbol and to make sense of what is being drawn. And so this notion of exploring, learning from the child, allowing the child to develop, and to recognize that art was not a little luxury, but an essential tool of education. It was an essential marker of a person's cognitive progress. And these ideas deeply influenced Margaret Noble, and she referred in her letter in 1903 to Ebenezer Cook as her teacher, her friend, and counselor. It is also fitting that when Margaret Noble left for India on steamship Mombasa, one person who went to see her off was Ebenezer Cook. They kept in touch, and Margaret Noble recollects that when she was making this big decision, Ebenezer Cook told her, do what you think is right now. If you have regrets, there will be some at some later stage, not now. And so she realized that you have to make decisions, you have to take risks in order to make progress. So it is I think it is a general problem of looking at the past and trying to see if this pattern of having these gatekeepers of destiny, this pattern is repeated in other places for other people, and to put them together and to see if such an enterprise throws light on the conditions necessary for great innovators and great personalities to thrive and prosper. I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to say a few words about this remarkable lady. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Sen. We were indeed fortunate to have you amongst us today. Now, I would like to invite Pravrajika Tyaganishta Prana, Sannyasini Sri Sharada Math and Ramakrishna Sharada Mission, Guntur, to deliver her speech.
Om Vivekananda Satchishyam Tadalpitamanodhyam Tatkarye Tyakta Sarvasvam Niveditam Namamyaham. My pranams to revered Atandra Prana Mataji, revered Asesh Prana Mataji, and all other Matajis who are in the session. And my respectful namaskars to Professor Siddharth Singh of Trinity College, Dublin, and my greetings to all the participants in today's webinar. I am very much happy to participate in this webinar today, which is being conducted by the Sister Nivedita Heritage Museum and Knowledge Center, Kolkata, commemorating the 125th anniversary of Sister Nivedita's coming to India. Sister Nivedita's coming to India is a very significant event in the world history in general and in Indian history in particular. First, let us see the global significance of Nivedita's coming to India. All of you know that Swami Vivekananda was the first Indian yogi who gave the message of Vedanta to the West. Swamiji summarized the Vedantic message in a few words when he said, each soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest this divinity by controlling nature, external and internal. Do this either by work or worship or psychic control or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. I unquote. The real nature of human being is neither physical nor psychological. It is the Atman or the pure consciousness. The goal is to realize this possibility which is inherent in every human being. This message, which is human-centric, elevating, and all-inclusive, beyond any dogma or sect or belief system, touched Nivedita's heart, then Margaret Elizabeth Noble. Whenever I think of Sister Nivedita, the first thing that comes to my mind is her passion for truth. The seeker of truth in her that connected all her activities and achievements. She wrote, when I was quite young, the only passion that I would ever know would be the passion for truth. What kind of truth that Sister Nivedita was aspiring for? The truth that is consistent, logical, and which can accommodate every idea into it. So she found it in Vedanta, which was delivered through Swami Vivekananda. She respected Swamiji because he embodied the values she was searching for. Out of that respect only, she came to India to assist Swamiji in his mission to uplift Indian women through education. But later, her work expanded and expanded till it touched every aspect in India. Why? Because actually she came to teach only for girls' education, only she came here. But why did she extend his work? Because she found that Indian culture is inundated with the same truth which she was searching for. So she started adoring this land and identified with this land in totality, completely. That was the power of her conviction in truth. Sri Aurobindo said that the human race, consciously or unconsciously, is traveling towards a higher level of awareness, which he called supramental. So whatever has happened in human history till now, and what is happening now, everything is the stepping stone towards that grand journey. The discovery of sea routes, the European colonization, and the scientific advancements, industrial civilization, and the Parliament of World Religions, the world wars, and the formation of international organizations like United Nations, and the tremendous technological revolution that we have been passing through, and the recent pandemic itself. Maybe some of these facts may be very painful, but standing aside, if we observe, then as far as the evolution of the human race is concerned, we will find a purpose behind everything. The human race is progressing by falling and raising towards a common goal. So when this colonial period was nearing to end, and when the scientific advancements were going on in the West, Swami Vivekananda went to America with his universal message. Many of you know that the slogan for colonization was God, gold, and glory. What does it mean? God means wherever you colonize, whatever country you colonize, you go and convert them into Christianity. That is God. And gold means you exploit how much you can. You exploit that country and loot that country and transport all the resources to Europe. That is gold. And glory, by doing these two things, and they will be glorified. So this slogan, God, 3 Gs, God, Gold and Glory. In Europe, all European countries, they competed with each other to do this ugly race of, occupying other nations. What they did first, they used to kill people, that the local people, millions of people they have killed. And they destroyed indigenous cultures of many continents and exploited their resources. So they believed that by doing this, they thought that God would reward them. And really, it's very pathetic that they did this with that God would reward them. Like that, in the name of religion, they did all these things. And in the World Parliament of Religions, and Swamiji went at that time, and how important it is, Swamiji's message we can understand. So Swamiji gave the universal message. Everybody spoke about their own religion, but Swamiji spoke about universal religion. He gave the universal message of equality and message of cooperation. And what a turning point it was in the history of spiritual evolution of mankind. So that was the difference. That was a turning point, and that was a landmark in the human history. And next, Nivedita's coming to India is as significant as Swamiji's going to the West. Nivedita represents one of the best minds of our own times in England, as Swamiji represented the best of India. Nivedita decided to come to India with the colonial minds, not with the colonial mindset of God, the gold and glory, but exactly the reverse. She did not come with the agenda to convert people to her religion. Instead, she studied thoroughly the religion and culture of the colonized land. She gave her everything to uplift the people of this land in their own way, in the line of their growth. She did not impose her ideas on them. She did not expect anything in return. So I would say Nivedita replaced this colonial slogan of God, gold, and glory with good, give, and go. So be good, do good, give whatever you have, and go without expecting anything in return. That's exactly what Sister Nivedita did. That keeps her apart from any foreigner who loved and served India. And Swamiji gave the universal and all-inclusive message to the West, because the West was in need of that at that time. And Nivedita gave her time and life in order to serve the colonized Eastern society. After being colonized and tyrannized, the Eastern societies were in need of such kind of empathetic service. This exchange between East and West strikes the balance. She even tried her best to root out the misconceptions of the Western people about the Eastern societies by giving lectures in the West. She even pleaded rich people like Sarah Bull to donate for the cause of a school and for the advancement of scientific research, as all of us know, of Indian scientist Dr. J.C. Bose. Thus, Sister Nivedita became a bridge between the East and the West. And next point is, many people usually ask us, was Sister Nivedita converted to Hinduism? How can there be a conversion? Sister Nivedita herself proudly said once, I am the first Christian member of the Ramakrishna order. She did not say that I am the first Christian convert. Why should we convert people from one belief to the other belief? Take help from everywhere. Try to elevate yourself wherever you are. This is the real conversion. Though we all are born into a sect or a belief or a race, we can still learn from others, appreciate others. That's what Nivedita's life teaches us. This is the second point, which is of global importance. And the third important change that Nivedita's coming to India brought about was the amalgamation of the great ideals of womanhood of East and West. The spirit of independence, intellectual robustness, courage, boldness, all these qualities of Western women, which Nivedita already possessed, and later she absorbed the values of Indian womanhood, like self-effacement, forbearance, silent suffering, sacrifice, sadhana, and spirituality through her blessed association with Holy Mother, Sri Sharada Devi. So Nivedita stood before us as a perfect ideal for future women. a perfect blending of the exalted characteristics of the Eastern and Western cultures. So Nivedita's life teaches us how a woman can command respect by her sheer character, intelligence, and purity. And the fourth point is the school she started is now blossomed into a very completely independent international monastic organization for women, Sri Sharada Math, where women can realize their intellectual and spiritual potential, independent of men, and can exercise their spirit of dedication and service, guided by the eternal truths of Vedanta. So, Nivedita's coming to India brought about 4 efficacies of global importance. First, she served as a bridge between the East and the West. She modified the idea of religious conversions, and she set a role model for the ideal womanhood. Nowadays, the womanhood, this ideal womanhood, it has changed its meaning actually. What I mean to say, the womanhood, ideal womanhood, which commands respect from all quarters and invokes purity in others. That's what ideal womanhood, what I want to say. And the fourth point is she was instrumental for the birth of a completely independent international organization like Sharada Math. So these 4 are the very important points which are of global importance. And now coming to the national significance, somebody said, actually Nivedita awakened Indians to India. Beautifully they said this. And in India now, the very name Nivedita invokes inspiration. Swami Vivekananda gave this name to her, and her later life proved how apt was the name. Indeed, the name and the named became synonymous. Nivedita's love for truth, her sacrifice for her adopted land, and her exalted character, her innumerable talents, her influence on India's freedom struggle, and her ability to penetrate into the efficacies of Indian culture, her multifarious roles in Indian Renaissance, her dedication for women's education in India. By all these traits, Nivedita won the Indian heart all at once for all. So Nivedita's influence on India, if we have to tell in one word, that is tremendous. Her influence was tremendous, but it was not properly assessed and recognized till now. As somebody said, she simply awakened the Indians to India, as I said earlier, and her ideas, which were given a century ago for the regeneration of Indian nation, are still vitally applicable for its true progress as a nation. She spoke about Hindu-Muslim unity long before Gandhiji came into the scene, but we did not pay attention, and the result was the partition. And she spoke so clearly about the importance of Swadeshi movement, but we could not perpetuate it. The result is that we became the biggest marketplace for all the imported goods, and we are unaware of how it is affecting our economy. She spoke about the need of education on national lines, and she started a school in those lines, but we could not implement it as a nation. And the result is the present education system bereft of values. And she spoke about the need of indigenous research, but till now we could not achieve the mark. So our best minds are going outside to do research and all. And she spoke about thorough research into our own past. We have to rewrite our history, she told, but still we are mugging up the same history in our history books that were written by the biased historians of the Western origin. So Nivedita touched all fields in sports and art and everything, and tried to infuse this national spirit into everything. In fact, Nivedita was the first to coin the term national consciousness, Jatiya Chetana. So the significance of Sister Nivedita's arrival, as far as India is concerned, it means the complete revival of its glorious past and building a new, progressive and self-reliant India. India has to do thorough research into Nivedita's works, her enlightened ideas, and I think this Sister Nivedita Heritage Museum and Knowledge Center, it is doing its research in these lines, and I hope that a day will come very soon and that we can see India, our country, as envisioned by Sister Nivedita. I thank Revered Ashish Prana Mataji for giving me this opportunity. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Prarajika Tyaganishta Prana. We have 2 minutes now for the question and answer session. So we would request the audience to put forward questions, and we would have our eminent speakers to answer them. And there's another request to all the participants that if you could just tell the name of the person to whom you would be asking the question. Okay, it will be easy for the person to take the question and answer. Those who want to ask the question, kindly unmute and then ask the questions. The first, unmute, please. Please, sir, please ask your question.
My regards to all the Matajis and the professors and the scholars present here. This is Jayant Loha Chaudhuri. I have my question to put forward to Professor Siddhartha Sen. That, sir, do you feel that the education method, the policies and the principles Sister Nivedita designed for educating Indian women was an unique one? I mean, not following the path of Froebel or something like that, or Pestalozzi's path, but taking inputs from various sources and ideas, but Indianized them and designed a new way, new path, new education method for the Indian woman. It often seems to me like that.
I think I would agree with you. When Sister Nivedita started her school, she felt she had to understand the nature of Bengali women and Bengali girls.
Yeah.
And she felt that when they came to the school, they came with a store of knowledge which was
Yes, sir.
unconventional. They would know the stories of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, and they would know the stories of Purana, and they had a system of ethics and a system of values, so that any teaching should be based firmly on taking these things into account.
Yes, sir.
So you couldn't do anything without knowing the material you have and on which you have to. The other point is, although Sister Nivedita was deeply philosophical and deeply analytical in her approach, and these were general principles, there was also Sister Christina, who knew Bengali, colloquial Bengali, and who could create an atmosphere of, what should I say, friendship and good fellowship, which was also helpful. So between the two of them, they created an atmosphere in which innovative ideas were being used, but the general notion of the innovative ideas were deeply rooted in abstract methods in which a human being can learn. So that was the thing she was always striving to do, that it was not a static picture, but something which is evolving based on her experience.
Exactly, sir. Thank you very much for your reply. And in this regard, I would like to mention that the tamarind seeds methods used to teach counting the girls. There are several such methods available in the village, in the rural places, indigenous methods. And one kind of play which say kit kit. I have searched a little bit and I have saw 16 different methods at least in which complicated mathematics is used. So I believe Sister Nivedita was aware of those two. So she might have insisted in pursuing or in designing a method which is much more built with indigenous elements and the methods which are prevailing there for thousands of years. So that is why, and Swamiji told her to design a new method for Indian girls. That is why I keep on insisting on that point. Thank you very much, sir.
May I ask a question to Mr. Siddhartha Sen, Professor Siddhartha Sen? Siddhartha Babu, আমি আপনাকেই জিজ্ঞেস করছি। First of all, I convey my heartfelt thanks for mentioning the name of Ebenezer Cook as an important person to for the arrival of Sister Niveditas to India. It's a very new idea, and I want to ask you that how can we continue, how can we extend this type of research on this line? Can you suggest any clue? Methods, any clue? I know that in Ireland, maybe you can suggest someone but something. I don't know. Please suggest us, but show the light. We want to extend this research more further.
So one thing is, when I looked at what is mentioned about Ebenezer Cook in some of the books I read on Sister Nivedita, they always said he was a well-known portrait painter of children. I found no evidence for that. I found that in a collection of Nivedita's letters, it was said that Ebenezer Cook died in 1904. He died in 1913. And he died at the age of 76 while he was lecturing. He was giving 2 lectures. He died, he was a teacher. He was a renowned teacher. So I think if central characters like that should be brought to life, so that, for example, Lady Isabel Margeson was a remarkable lady. She was a fierce lady. She was with vast number of interests, but at the end of it, after being exposed to Vivekananda, she too was touched by it. So was because of Lady Margeson's son married Legate's daughter Frances. So the world in which they operated, right, with Josephine MacLeod being a friend of the Legates, and the Legates were great supporters of Vivekananda, you suddenly find that this space expanded and it included people like Lady Margeson. Ebenezer Cook too was influenced by this. He went in 1898 on a tour to America, invited to give talks, and there he met these people. So I think these stories, I think, are slowly will unfold. And as one unfolds these stories, we would learn greater and greater insights on how a group working as individuals can come together to create something special. And that is something which one can find out by research as well. You know, how do you create a structure?
Many thanks, Professor. The time is short. Time is short, so
anyone can ask any
last-
question to
The last question now.
last
We'll
question
take the last
to,
question.
to that person, that Tagonishto Prana. Is there any question to Tagonishto Prana?
কোথায় না হবে না গান হবে না
কেউ কি জিজ্ঞেস করবেন
Hello?
গান হবে? Hello? Now,
লাস্টে গান
Okay, we have now reached the last leg of today's program. I would like to thank all present here.
Mataji, I had a doubt.
please tell who wants to ask?
Mataji, Sai Pavantesh.
Please go ahead.
Mataji, can you tell us the life message of Sister Nivedita in brief to encourage young minds?
Yaganishta Prana.
Sai Pavantes, in one word, I will tell you, love India, aspire for truth, okay, study well, and he is from Guntur actually. Okay, love India, that is the message of Sister Nivedita, okay.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said, Yaganishta Prana. So by this we come to the end of this session. And we would like to end the session with a closing song by Srimati Joyita Ghoshan, an ex-student of Ramakrishna Sharada Mission, Sister Nivedita Girls School. Over to you, Joyita.
প্রথমেই প্রণাম জানাই ঠাকুর, মা, স্বামীজি এবং সিস্টারকে। আমি ধন্য যে আমি ওই স্কুলে পড়তে পেরেছি। তারপরে প্রণাম জানাই সমস্ত মাতাজিদের এবং ডক্টর প্রফেসর সিদ্ধার্থ সেনকেও আমার সশ্রদ্ধ প্রণাম জানিয়ে আমি আমার গান শুরু করছি। এসেছিলে তুমি ভারত বর্ষে, জাগাতে ভারত ললনাগনে, নব ভারতের নবীন আদর্শে, বীর কন্যা ওগো অনন্যা, এসেছিলে তুমি ভারত বর্ষে, জাগাতে ভারত ললনাগনে, নব ভারতের নবীন আদর্শে, বীর কন্যা ভুলিনি ভগিনী, ভুলিনি তোমায়, তবু মহাবাণী আজিও জাগায়, ভুলিনি ভগিনী, ভুলিনি তোমায়, তবু মহাবাণী আজিও জাগায়, তবু প্রেরণায় ভারত সেবায়, বিজয় গর্বে ত্যাগের আদর্শে, বীর কন্যা ওগো অনন্যা, এসেছিলে তুমি ভারত বর্ষে, জাগাতে ভারত ললনাগনে, নব ভারতের নবীন আদর্শে, বীর কন্যা দেশ হিংসা ভুলি গাও সবে মিলে, জয় তু ভারত, জয় তু ভগিনী, জয় তু ভারত, জয় তু ভগিনী, জয় নিবেদিতা পরম হর্ষে, বীর কন্যা ওগো অনন্যা, এসেছিলে তুমি ভারত বর্ষে। বসে জাগাতে ভারত ললনাগনে নব ভারতের নবীন আদর্শে বীর কন্যা সকল গর্ব দূর করে দেব তোমার গর্ব ছাড়িব না সবারে ডাকিয়া কহিব যেদিন পাবো তব পদ রেণুকণা সকল গর্ব দূর করে দেব তোমার গর্ব ছাড়িব না তব আহ্বান আসিবে যখন সে কথা কেমনে করিব গোপন তব আহ্বান আসিবে যখন সে কথা কেমনে করিব গোপন সকল বাক্যে সকল কর্মে প্রকাশিবে তব আরাধনা সকল গর্ব দূর করে দেব তোমার গর্ব ছাড়িব না যত মান আমি পেয়েছি যে কাজে সেদিন সকলি যাবে দূরে শুধু তব মান দেহে মনে মোর বাজিয়া উঠিবে এক সুরে যত মান আমি পেয়েছি যে কাজে সেদিন সকলে যাবে দূরে শুধু তব মান দেহে মনে মোর বাজিয়া উঠিবে এক সুরে পথের পথিক সেও দেখে যাবে তোমার বারতা মোর মুখ ভাবে পথের পথিক সেও দেখে যাবে তোমার বারতা মোর মুখ ভাবে ভব সংসার বাতায়ন তলে বসে রব যাবে আনমনা সকল গর্ব দূর করে দেব তোমার গর্ব ছাড়িব না সবারে ডাকিয়া কহিব যেদিন পাবো তব পদ রেণুকণা সকল গর্ব দূর করে দেব তোমার গর্ব ছাড়িব না
And with this, we come to the end of the session. Hope we will have many such sessions in the near future. Thank you so much, all of you, and namaskar.